We'll have an overview of the 2025 bar examinations that started last Sunday and an inspiring story of how a 2024 bar passer fulfilled his dream from being a janitor to a lawyer. Good morning. I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno, and this is At the Forefront. With years of experience as a professor, reviewer, and leader in legal education, her expertise bridges both tradition and reform. Dean Soledad Mawis has guided generations of law students through the grueling bar examinations. What wisdom does she offer to thousands taking on the 2025 bar exams this week? A bar reviewer, a dean from the College of Law of Lyceum University, Dean Soledad Mawis. Good morning, Dean Sol.
Good morning, Attorney Karen. Thank you for inviting me here.
And thank you for your time, Dean Sol. So
you.
Let's start with, first, today is the second day, and Sunday was the first day of the bar exams. And the third day and final day would be this coming Sunday. So what are your thoughts on compressing the bar exams into 3 days within a week? What were the pros and cons?
I think the best is really, it's no longer that very expensive, especially for those students who are based in the provinces. They are no longer required to go to Manila and take the bar exams since it has now been regionalized. Secondly, aside from the money aspect, you get your strength from your family. At least the distance will no longer be a problem because they can be given all the necessary support, emotional support from their family, as they did not they did not leave the comforts of their homes in the provinces.
So you're talking about at least what they changed in terms of decentralizing the bar exam. Because dati, they have to fly to Manila.
Exactly, and it's very, very expensive.
Yeah, and especially it's one whole month.
Yes.
It's 4 Sundays.
Yes, now because it's only technically one whole week, it's not going to be very expensive, unlike before.
Yes, and what are the cons of compressing it?
Of course, it's going to be very difficult because you have only how many, like for example, last Sunday, after taking the bar exam on a Sunday, you cannot just cry the whole day of Monday. You have to immediately pick up the pieces and move on because technically you have just 2 days to review for the next Wednesday exam. And that will be today is going to be civil law. And if I'm not mistaken, civil law and commercial law review, I think, no? So this
they usually go together.
They usually go, no. I think it's commercial law and labor, I stand corrected.
Okay.
It's civil law and labor. Imagine for 2 days, unlike before, you have one whole week. So that is the disadvantage. But actually, I don't see that as a disadvantage because technically speaking, you should have studied that when you're in 4th year.
Yeah, that's why they call it review, no?
Yes.
So that's what my dad would always tell me. You know, Karen, with the bar exams, it should be review, not preview.
Correct, correct. That's very correct. And you should really take your 4th year seriously because that's already review. So yes, it was shortened. Yes, it's going to be very difficult to immediately pick up the pieces, especially if you did not have a very good feeling on the previous bar exam date. But still, it's really one of just making sure that you have studied the entire 4 years and you'll be okay.
Yeah, well, I took the New York bar exam as well, and that is also a 3-day exam. But it's 1 day after the other for all the exams. It's just 2 days na magkadikit. Magkasunod na araw. So and then the second day includes federal law. So it's usually New York law for the whole day. And then the next day, meron siyang federal law. And then ang nakahiwalay lang na day, which would be, I think like a week after, is ethics.
See, so even based on your experience, when you took the New York bar exam, I really think it's really doable. I think there should be a shift now to, a mindset that actually review starts from 1st year and it will culminate with your 4th year, okay? So there is no need for you to have a long period of review of 6 months because technically you've already studied for 4 years.
And on that note, Dean Sol, meron bang efforts to compress law school? Because in the US, law degree is only 3 years.
Yes.
I'm not sure in other countries, I think it's even shorter. For common law
Yes.
countries, they start some of the subjects like when you're in your technically undergrad because you get to choose which field you're going to be
Yes.
in. So to make it less costly for Filipinos, bakit hindi na lang nga going 3 years? Because like you said, the first 3 years are all your law subjects, and usually the fourth year is just a review. So hindi ba kaya na 3
You know,
years na lang?
actually, it comes with the maturity. To me, I taught in a school wherein it was tri-semester. And so the graduates that went in first year were not the usual, I think, 21 years old. They're much younger, at least a year younger. You know, when you have a 4-year course, the fact that you are already matured enough helps a lot. Instead of coming in when you are quite a bit younger, it's different. There is a difference. I sense a difference between a law student who is already of a certain age and a law student who is a bit younger.
So it's more
It's to me
efficient or
it's more efficient.
productive to be
True.
older.
And there is a commitment. When you're already reached a certain age, there's already a commitment for you to finish law school, really.
Well, we had more than 11,000 examinees on day one. And this has been the highest turnout ever so far
Yes.
for a bar exam.
Yes.
What does this record number say about the legal profession in the Philippines?
You know that 11,000, I think majority of them are multi-takers. And so what does that say? It says that perhaps there's a need for us to review what is happening in the law schools. How come there is a big number that could not even pass on the first take? So that must be reviewed and looked into, not only by the Legal Education Board, but also by the law schools. Why are there so many multi-takers?
And in other countries, they make the bar exam more strict or harder to pass because they don't want a country that has a lot of lawyers. Well, this is what I heard when it comes to, I think Japan is one of
they
those
have a quota
countries.
system, I think.
Korea as well. So sa atin ba, are we trying to encourage more people in the legal profession?
To my mind, there is always a need for new lawyers, okay? We are not trying to restrict the number of passers, but I think what the Supreme Court wants is to make sure that we have quality lawyers, okay? It's not just a number, it's really more of the quality of lawyers who can give quality service to the public. So it's really not making it difficult, but rather making sure that these lawyers are practice ready.
Just like doctors, we want
Yes.
doctors who are
Yes.
competent and
Yes.
qualified.
Correct,
Well,
correct.
Dean, you've been a dean for many years. In your experience, may mga milestones ba sometimes sa country that influences also how many people enroll in law school? Because I remember there was a dean who told me before, and this was shortly after the impeachment, and she told me, nung nagkaroon ng impeachment trial ni Chief Justice Corona, nakita daw nila yung spike sa increase ng law students na nag-enroll.
You know, I was about to make reference to that, especially I remember there were students who talked about you, who talked about the spokesperson, who talked about the proceedings, kasi napanood sa TV eh. And when they watched it, okay, they were inspired. It's more of being inspired when they saw the law in action. So yes, there are certain, and I think there might be a spike, especially now that what is happening in the country. I think there might be a spike again when it comes to the next batch of incoming freshmen.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, dun sa bar exam ngayon, because of all the issues that we're facing, graft and corruption, with respect to the flood control
Yes.
projects, the impeachment, do you think these were made part of the bar exam this year? These types of questions?
Well, right now, based on what I've read, no, so far, no. It's more of really based on jurisprudence, basic. This bar is basic questions that should be the case, no? Hindi yung parang yung malalim, very complex, no, very basic questions just to test whether this student or the examinee is practice ready or not.
They've really changed the direction of the bar exam because during my parents' time, they were saying that sometimes the questions can be so obscure that
Yes.
in one of the famous bar exam questions, yung sagot mahanap mo sa footnote ng
Yes.
isang commentary
Yes.
book on
Yes.
law.
Yes.
And during my time, we did get also some obscure questions about local government taxes. So like, parang may mga ganun sinisingit. But the direction now is to veer away from
Yes.
obscure questions.
And I would like to, I would like to maybe thank PALS for that, the Philippine Association of Law Schools, and of course the Supreme Court, because we've always been very consistent with our requests that it should be, the question should be for the level of incoming first-year practitioners. It cannot be, very complex, no? It has to test what they know, so it must be practice-ready. First-level entry kung tawagin, no? Hindi pwede yung you assume that they know this, the answer for this, when even a 5-year practitioner cannot even answer it. That will be very unfair. And right now, based on what I have seen so far, the questions are for those who are about to enter the practice, at least entry-level practitioners. So that's going to be fair.
And Dean, what's your take on the top 10 sa bar? I mean, in other countries, like even for me, when I took the New York bar exam, you'll get a notice that you passed the bar exam, pero wala silang top 10. And here, it's always like a grand occasion. People are waiting to see the top 10, tapos meron pang, yung iba nagpapatarpaulin pa. But in the past years, I've also noticed they've even increased the announcement to the top 20,
Yes.
which wasn't the case before. Dati talagang top 10 lang.
Okay.
So, what's the reason for that?
Okay, my answer is I am a person who is not a bar top-notcher. So mine has no, it's unbiased. Do I like to have a top 10 or a top 20? Yes. Because it gives a student something to aspire for. I mean, let's give it that, and give due recognition. Let's give due recognition for those who really did well. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, if they did well, then let's give due recognition. But it doesn't necessarily mean that if you're top 10, automatically you will be very good in practice. There's no correlation whatsoever. Or if you did not become part of the top 10, it does not mean that you cannot be the best lawyer in your field. No, it's just for that moment. Okay? You just got the high grade, and that's it. And let's give due recognition to those people who really studied very well.
And you don't think it fosters this competition among law schools? Kasi yun yung
it
lagi nila
does.
tinitignan. Ilan ang nakuha ng UP or Ateneo sa top 10 or other schools. Yeah.
It really does. But to me, as I said, giving due recognition to the best, there is nothing wrong with it. Okay?
Maraming first-time takers
Naman,
for this
yes,
bar exam.
yes.
There's about 5,214.
Yes.
How do law schools prepare them differently from retakers? Because you also mentioned
Yes.
a big number of retakers.
Well, the preparation always starts from first year. Okay? And then now, some law schools, because graduation is most of the law schools, if I'm not mistaken, almost all of the law schools, they start their school year in August. So if you count, it is mga May or June, they will have their graduation. So how many months to review? Just 2-3 months. So what they do is some law schools give a bridge program, okay, where they just assist or, give lectures for free to their examinees. So that's one way of helping them. And of course, the student population, the bar ops committee, okay, they start early, and that's one way of helping also the examinees to prepare for the bar.
And as a dean, how do you help your students balance the painstaking studying that goes with law school and their mental health?
Okay, you have to talk to them. Maybe the advantage of having a medium-sized law school, we can have a one-to-one discussions with the examinee, and that helps a lot. Secondly, the professors, okay, we have the mentoring system where the professors, after the student graduated, for example, they will have to mentor them. And it's not teaching them the rudiments of the law. It's really being able to tell them that, look, we're here. Do you have any concerns? And we discuss those concerns.
Well, with right now 6,673 women taking the bar exams, this is more than half
Yes.
of the examinees. Does this reflect a gender balance shift towards women?
Well, yes, and at the same time, it's a recognition that I guess the women are more persevering, okay? And it's women power at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah, nagbago talaga
Yes,
because during
yes.
my dad's time, it was more than half. I think
Yes.
70% men in this profession or even among the law students.
And I'm very happy that women are empowered, to do things that are not the traditional, profession for women. So it's a very good, I think it's a reflection of the changing times, no? That women should be given due recognition too in the society.
Dean Sol, what about senior citizens also taking the bar exams? We heard that meron pang nagba-bar exam na ages up to 80 years
Yes.
old. How are they dealt with in terms of the preparation and the exam days?
Okay, I'll answer that with a story. In our school, I had this student who went who went to law school at age 56. And then I asked, why only now? Why 56? She said, because during the time when she was young, her father did not allow her to take law school for the simple reason that she is a girl.
Oh, wow.
Yes, for simple reasons she's a girl. And after she married, okay, and then she had her grandchildren, when everything else seems to be okay, she pursued her dream. Then at age 61, she passed. She graduated. So I asked her, will you take the bar? She said, no. I said, why will you not take the bar? Because I'm old, secondly, memory might be failing me, etc. So I said, no. You have come this far, you might as well really make your dream a reality. Then she took it. She passed one take. So what does that mean? It really takes so much for the senior citizens, okay, to prepare for the bar. It's not only, it's not only time, they think that they're not good anymore because their memory is failing. But you just have to push them. I'll guide them to make them believe in themselves again, and they will make it.
Well, physically, it's also rigorous. It's
Yes.
a whole day test.
Yes.
So,
But,
meron bang concerns about, any health issues?
No naman, because I think the one that will really be, I think the 4-year preparation or even the 5 or 6-year preparation for them in law school would have subjected them to severe mental anguish. And then by then, when they're about to take the bar, kaya na nila. Yeah.
What about changing the system from handwritten exams to now computerized?
I think that's good. I think that's a very good shift because some of during my time, according to some of my classmates, they felt that they did not make it to the bar simply because of their handwriting.
Yeah, my handwriting is terrible
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, so
Kahit nag-effort na akong gandahan, pangit talaga.
Yeah. So I think it's very good that it's now, you can use your computer.
Well, a lot of the changes that were done for the bar exam have made it more convenient
Yes.
for students. Do you feel that this also makes the students more spoiled, the examinees, compared to what we went through during our generation? And during my parents' generation, mas mahirap pa, fountain pen pa yung required.
Yes. Naabutan ko yun.
Yeah. So, parang ngayon padali na ng padali. And of course, it's good. It's good for the
Yes.
examinees. But for some of the old school lawyers, sabi nila, parang spoiled na yung mga batang nag-exam ngayon.
Okay.
Kasi yung dami, like, less days, and then computerized pa, and then I think there's an effort nga to make it also more basic compared to the obscurity of some of the questions that we had to undergo before.
No, I don't think it is, we have to adapt to changes. That's number one. And if this change is if there are, if we can adapt to change, much better for all of us. I remember during that time that, my classmates and I were even thinking, how can we acquire or buy fountain pens when we do not have enough money to even buy, the basic needs for law school? But ngayon, parang everybody gets to adapt. And if we're talking about, the lawyers feeling entitled, because what's given to them now is, what's being given to them are easily, within the reach. I think it's more of the preparation inside the law school while they're students, sometimes I must admit there is now a change. Unlike before, when you do your recitation inside the classroom, the teacher will call you names, the teacher will even curse you in front of your
Yeah,
classmates,
I agree.
and
Yeah.
you just smile. But now, no, we just can't do that because teachers now recognize that there is this thing called mental health. And we have to adapt because, again, it's a recognition of the changing times.
Do you feel like it makes the students less tough once they become lawyers? Parang it's not just the study rigor, but the emotional ability to cope with adversity.
Well, to a certain extent, yes. Unlike before, when I remember my classmate, the teacher got so mad at him. But after the very bad recitation, we all laughed. Now, no. They really cry. Okay, they really cry. And it affects them internally. Okay. And maybe that's the reason why, there is a shift now. Unlike before that we put our professors on a pedestal, para bang they are the source of all knowledge. Now, the shift is to make the student the universe. Okay? It's no longer student-teacher. We're just facilitators. Okay? There's the thing about, teaching also our students empathy and us to be empathetic too. Is it good? Well, there are pros and cons. Does it make a person tougher? Maybe not. Maybe yes. But really, it's more of now, it's more of making the student a human being. Do we have to really subject the student to mental anguish or public humiliation? Maybe yes. I truly believe you should,
Yeah,
no?
because supposedly that's also to help
yes,
us prepare for trial
yes,
courts.
correct,
Because some
correct.
judges are very tough on
Kaya lang
the
kasi
litigators.
minsan, sobra na eh. You know what I mean? There are certain, maybe, during my time, you don't even have to call the student names. You can be tough, you can be firm, you can teach them, that X factor without naman disparaging the internal being of, treat them like a human being. It's as simple as that.
But sayang lang, ako yung nangihinayang lang ako because of what you said, yung adversity quotient that you gain from a tough experience. Because
Yes.
I had Justice Leonen as one of my professors
Yeah.
in law school. And naninigaw talaga siya.
Yeah.
Yung sigaw na masistress ka talaga. And but looking back, my friends and I from law school, when we now talk about those times, tumatawa kami. It was, stressful at the time, but, to go through that, it toughens you up eh. So,
It does.
I
It
hope
really
the
does.
kids now or the younger students are not missing out from, developing that type of...
Yeah, for example, in my case, no, I might appear motherly, but I am not that kind. In a sense that if you will fail, because of your performance, I will really fail you. And that's part of it. Okay? That's one way of making sure that the student will give value to studying. Hindi pwede yung okay lang. What I cannot accept is when the student says, "Ma'am, I have not read the case."
Yeah, me too.
Oh
Umiinit
my
talaga
God.
ulo ko pag gano'n.
But then you go to
Yeah.
class prepared and then the student will tell you, "I'm sorry, ma'am, I have not read the case." How can you not read the case when it was given to you a week before? And how can you be a lawyer when you can't go to court not prepared, right? Doon ako naiinis talaga.
Well, now that there's also ChatGPT
Yeah.
and other AI
yes.
tools, and even it's so easy to create your own law digest, because you just cut and paste. Whereas
Yes.
during our time, we really rely
Right.
on photocopies, and then we have to
Right.
write everything. Do you find that among your students, there's also kind of like less mental rigor, or does that affect how they prepare and study?
Everything now is accessible. Even the digest itself, okay, is already posted on the net. All they have to do is print. But I always tell my students, there is no way you can shortcut the study of law. There is no shortcut from being great. Now, if you want to do shortcuts, then it will not give you that, that necessary tool for you to be great. Kasi ang alam mo lang lahat shortcut eh. Unlike us, during our time, it was really, and I think when you develop this issue of yung spotting the issue, okay, you want to spot the issue, you have to read through the case.
Yeah.
But if you will just download a digest from the net, how can you spot the issue when the issue has already been spotted for you? So that was what I was telling. That's always what I tell my students. There is no shortcut to greatness. You want to be great, well, you have to do it the long way.
This year's chair for the bar exams
Yes.
is Justice Amy Lazaro Javier.
Yes.
What have you heard is her focus? Because normally, if you have a chair for the bar exams, their specialty, whatever type of law it is, becomes, I suppose, like the hardest bar exam, or meron silang certain styles then that reflects in the bar exam, even the bar examiners that they choose. What can you say about Justice Amy Javier?
Based on the first political law exam, I think, based personally, I think it's more of she was able to show through political law her experience as a Solicitor General. The, number two, it also gave us, she was also able to show that she is, to begin with, a professor of law. The questions are short, straight to the point. The question itself, aside from the facts, the question itself, direct, very concise. So you know that Justice Amy, when she prepared all these questions, or at least got somebody to prepare the questions for her, okay, it is the heart of a teacher that came out at the end of the day. And she is so motherly, really so motherly. You know what really made me smile during the first Sunday is that when she said she already reserved the biggest place or venue for the oath taking.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
that means she will be more lenient in terms of
well,
assessing
yes,
the
I
exam
think so.
scores.
Yes, I think she has her own rubrics to make sure that she will be able to have, hopefully, a higher passing average. She kept on repeating, I am not here to fail you, I'm here to help you pass.
Wow, very
Yeah.
motherly
Very,
talaga.
very
What do
motherly.
you expect would be the hardest bar exam subject for this year?
Remedial law.
Remedial law, because of Justice Amy's background?
Yes, I think so. And she's good in REM. Okay? And as always,
Of course,
naman,
as a
always,
Solicitor General
Yes.
before.
Yes,
Yeah.
and always remedial law is the toughest because that's the last exam, and it's the highest percentage.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be REM.
Do you think the bar exam should remain to be a once-a-year event, or should we shift to making it twice a year?
Once a year, enough. It stresses the dean. I'm sure your mother too is so stressed during this period of time, because whenever there's a bar exam, the deans, okay, especially the deans, they are the ones who are actually taking the exam. Each and every student, karga nila yun internally eh. It's karga nila
Kaya
yun
pala yung
internally.
mom ko, as also an
Yeah.
associate dean, she gets very stressed, and
Yeah.
pagka mababa yung passing rate,
Yes.
na-affect din siya
Of
emotionally.
course, and you have to pray for all of them. It's like having so many children, okay? And then you have to ask how they are. You have to ask, paano ka nag-aral? So when you see them walk and when you see them enter the testing site, parang bang a part of you is with them. And when the results are out, oh my golly, that's the worst. Happy, sad, happy, sad, happy, sad. It's like a pendulum of feelings. So it's for me, only because of that, I just want the bar exam to be once a year
Kasi yung
for my own
emotion.
mental health.
Well, what about yung sa mga nakikita mong among the students that you've handled as a dean? Ano yung pinakamarami ng times na nag-take ng bar in your experience na nakita mo po?
There was one student who told me na 7 times siya.
7 times. Because
7
after the
times.
third fail, you have to
To
retake
go back, yeah,
one
to
more
fourth
year.
year.
Yeah.
And then you fail again, you have to go back.
So, itong
ang
taong to
tagal.
twice na umulit ng 1 year sa law school.
So,
Kung pang
3,
7th niya na.
yeah,
Kasi
3,
3.
yeah,
So,
so
after the
go
3rd
back,
year, balik siya ng 1
balik,
year. And then,
tapos
after
failed.
the 3rd year
Yeah.
ulit na is, oo.
Yeah, yeah. So it's basically 3 years, went back to law school, took it, did not make it, went back to law school, took it, he passed. So there were 5 times took it.
5 times at
Yeah.
7 years. Grabe. Then sana nag-engineering na
just-
siya or ibang profession. But that's still a very inspiring story
it's a
of
very
perseverance.
Perseverance, correct. So when he passed, I remember he went to me and we really hugged each other. Kasi parang feeling ko, oh my God, finally, he passed and he's now a lawyer.
And given, well, right now, lilihis po tayo because we have a few minutes left. But given what's going on in the country, and you mentioned you're expecting to see potentially a spike because
Yeah.
of all these investigations in Congress and Senate for the flood control projects, and then also the impeachment of Vice President Sara that went all the way up to the Supreme Court. Well, we want to pick your brain on those issues. One on the investigation on flood control issues. How do you think, how credible are the proceedings so far?
Well, credibility, as long as there are people who are part of the investigating committee and who were already mentioned that could be potentially also part of this corruption, I think it will be more credible if these people will be taken out from the committee, or at the very least, if they resign. Okay? Because we want the committee to be a neutral committee, one that will not be influenced by bias, okay, or personal agenda. So it would be best for us to have a credible committee, and when I say credible, hopefully those people who were named will resign from the committee out of delicadeza. I'm not even saying, resignation because you are guilty. No, no, no. Out of delicadeza. Like for example, in a courtroom, di ba? The judge, even if there's no basis, out of delicadeza, will voluntarily inhibit himself just to ensure that the proceedings will not be tainted, by any questions pertaining to credibility.
Well, the statement of the witnesses so far are resource persons.
Yeah.
How do you assess the credibility of those?
Well, like any witness in court, the witness should be credible. Not only the credibility is not only with respect to what he is saying, but also as to the person himself. So of course, I will have to take it with a grain of salt. You cannot just simply take whatever they're saying as Bible truth, because are they credible enough to begin with? Or is it coming from a polluted source? So all of these things should be put to a test. There should be corroborative evidence to test the credibility of the person and the credibility of the statements.
Well, what about the issue of not having a paper trail when it comes to politicians receiving a share from the project?
When you commit a crime, you don't leave a paper trail. But I think if there is no paper trail, there will be pieces of evidence, and I do not know what exactly. It can be testimonial, it can be object evidence, okay, where you can have basis to say that this person is guilty. It's like also going to court. Sometimes you don't have paper trail because it's a crime. It's very seldom that, a criminal will leave, a paper trail to make sure, just to make sure that, it's not going to be very easy for him to be held criminally liable. So to my mind, that is expected. So we have to make sure that there are other pieces of evidence later on that might be discovered that would lead, this criminal activity to this particular person.
Well, short of having documentary evidence, would testimonial evidence be sufficient?
Yes. Yes, corroborate. In fact, in law, di ba? Even if you're talking about circumstantial evidence, remember that circumstantial evidence can convict. In the same way, if we have circumstantial evidence that would, if you consider it, would lead and establish to the credibility, to the culpability of this person, I think that will be good.
And just fresh from yesterday's hearing in Congress, we had the names of Senators Jinggoy Estrada, Joel Villanueva, and in Senate, the names of Speaker Martin Romualdez and Zaldico being mentioned. What do you think would be the impact of this controversy on these
You know,
members of Congress?
consistent with what I said earlier, if they want to uphold the credibility of the investigation, just to avoid any questions of, the proceedings being tainted, I think they should resign as members of the committee, okay, out of delicadeza.
And finally, the change in leadership. We have a new Senate President,
Yeah.
Senator Tito Soto, and Senator Panfilo Lacson is now the chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee. Both are seasoned politicians, seasoned lawmakers, but they're not lawyers. So how do you think this would affect, one, for Senate President Tito Soto, the way an impeachment might be handled should another impeachment complaint be filed against Vice President Sara? And with respect to the Blue Ribbon Committee, with the way Senator Ping would be able to handle that investigation?
They are not lawyers, but they have, I'm very sure, a group of lawyers who will assist them. Secondly, the nice thing about these two gentlemen, they have years of experience, which cannot be just be taken lightly. I will reserve my final opinion on them. Wait and see. Let's see what they will do, and then perhaps ayoko lang unahan. I want to still have faith in the system, and hopefully they will be able to act accordingly, backed by experience and with a sense of justice and truth.
Okay, that's very good to hear. And
Yeah.
finally, what is your outlook on this whole investigation on the flood control scandal? Are you optimistic about it, that merong magkaka-accountability?
I have no choice. I have to be optimistic. Because if I have no optimism left, then what's the point of listening to these congressional hearings? But these congressional hearings should have an output. And if they will be able to establish that there are certain people, okay, who can be held accountable, then let the axe fall on them. Then let cases be filed. Let these people prove also that they are not liable at all. And at the very least, something must come out with this investigation. Hindi lang to parang pinanood lang natin sa TV.
Oo nga, parang telenovela pa naman every time so
Yes,
far.
yes.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you
Dean
very
Sol
much.
Mawis. I hope we can have you next here again on issues. Kasi
Thank you very
alam ko,
much.
bar exam yung topic,
Yes.
pero I couldn't resist asking you
Of
about
course.
current events.
And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity again. And please send my regards to your lovely mother.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
We'll have a late bloomer of a lawyer when we return after a short break. From working as a janitor and lab assistant to becoming a lawyer at 41, Attorney Tristan Ramos turned a life of hardship into a story of determination and persistence. What lessons does his tenacity reflect for this year's bar member aspirants? Joining us is 2024 bar exam passer, Attorney Tristan Ramos. Good morning, Attorney Tris.
Good morning, Attorney Karen. Thank you for having me here.
Napaka-interesting naman ang story mo. Can you tell us about your background? Yung paglaki mo, your parents, what were their professions, at paano ka naman naging janitor at some point?
Attorney, I want to take you back when I was only 14 years old. So I was a high school student back then, and then I received an anonymous call from someone informing me that my father met an accident. So when I went to the hospital, I saw my father covered in blood, and he wasn't able to recognize me. So what I did was to go back home, take some of his stuff, and then my mother called me informing me that my father was declared clinically brain dead. So we took him to 4 hospitals in 5 days, and then we finally made the decision to let go of my father. So he was declared dead after 5 days of being hospitalized. So before, we had a good lifestyle. So he was able to provide for the family's needs because he was working as an aircon technician in Saudi. And my mother was a full-time housewife. But after my father died, my mother was forced to work overseas as a domestic helper. And because of that, I was also forced to find scholarships. And one of the scholarships that I had in high school was an academic scholarship. But every summer, we're required to help in cleaning the school, helping in selling books. So what we did was to stack the books, sort them out, make sets, and help the administrator sell the books during summer. And when I was in college, that's the time when I became a janitor.
Para maging working student
Yes.
ka. But sorry, just to go back, what kind of accident did your dad get into?
He met a vehicular accident, but he had a stroke while he was riding a motorcycle.
So nasa motorcycle siya
Yes.
at nagka-stroke siya,
Yes.
kaya biglaan talaga.
Yes po.
You were all caught off guard.
Yes po.
So you became a working student. Sa college, yun yung full-time student ka,
Yes.
pero janitor
Yes.
ka for the same
Yes.
college then.
For a different department because we're not allowed to work in the same department.
Same university.
Same department. Because I was in the College of Science and I'm a working student in the Faculty of Pharmacy.
Oo, but this was under the same
Yes,
university.
yes.
Tama ba? Okay. So, nakaranas ka ba ng discrimination at any point, even when you were, as you said, yung naghanap ka ng scholarships and you had to work in school, and then even in college, kinailangan mo mag-janitor habang nag-aaral din. Did this make other students discriminate you?
Not really discriminate, but I get remarks which for me that at that time was difficult to accept.
Like what type of
because
remarks?
the situation that I was in at that moment was very difficult to accept for me. That my mother had to work as a domestic helper and me, I had to work as a janitor. There was an instance when I was in high school and I was an active member of the student council. And when we had an event, one of the administrators told me to get walis tingting and then sweep the grounds of the place where we'll be having the event. And at that time, I felt that the world treats you differently when your wallet is empty. So the same thing happened when I was already in college, when I was working as a janitor. One of my close friends from high school saw me walking along the hallways and then he shouted, "Tris, nakita kita sa satellite lab, nagja-janitor." So I felt really ashamed at that time. And every time I see my classmates passing by the laboratories, I always hide in the laboratories for them to avoid seeing me in that situation.
But looking back, would you change anything? Like, ngayon na, in hindsight, na pagdaanan mo yon, would you have wanted to spare yourself from that type of situation?
Attorney Karen, right now, I feel very proud of what I've accomplished. And if I had to live my life again, I wouldn't change anything at all. Because I believe that the challenges that you encounter in your journey makes you a stronger person.
Well, that's really an inspiring story. Pag nakikita mo ngayon yung nagva-viral na mga nepo babies living like super lavish lifestyles, anong naiisip mo? Considering for you, like what you had to go through as someone young and helping like your mom and putting yourself through school compared to how much these kids are spending.
For me, Attorney Karen, I feel very angry whenever I see those injustices happening. And I think that's one of the reasons why I became a lawyer in the first place, to fight what is happening in the system. Because for us who's fighting fairly, it's very hard to accept that the money, the taxes that you're paying goes to lavish things like that.
So let's talk about your experience in law school. From putting yourself through high school and college, nag-decide ka mag-law school.
Yes.
Bakit mo naisipan, as you said, it inspired you to become a lawyer to fight injustices. Pero hindi mo ba naisip that time na pag hindi ka nag-law school, you can go straight to working in a corporate job or something that will earn you a lot of money. Pero pag nag-law school ka, ilang taon na naman nahirap yon and gastos.
Actually, attorney, I was already working when I decided to enter law school. I practiced being a microbiologist for 9 years, and then I worked part-time as an insurance advisor for one of the insurance companies here in the Philippines. And that's the time when I realized that I wanted to become a lawyer. because we had this seminar about estate planning. Actually, we had a short course about estate planning. And by default, I'm an introvert. So you wouldn't, because I'm a science student, you wouldn't see me talking with a lot of people. So basically, I just in the confines of the laboratory, talking with the microorganisms in the lab.
Kinakausap mo yung mga
Yes,
microorganisms?
I treat them as my babies.
Nagre-respond ba sila?
Hindi naman
Nakikita
ata-
bang movement?
Yeah, but I just, whenever I get good results, I think that's the response that I get from the microorganisms. So going back, I took this estate planning seminar, and then I realized that to do this, I have to talk with lawyers, with accountants, and we have this notion that lawyers are very difficult people to deal with. So I decided to become a lawyer myself because, as I mentioned earlier, I'm an introvert, and I think that I wouldn't be able to talk with those lawyers without being ashamed or being shy. So I decided to become a lawyer myself.
Isn't that something that you find difficult to do? Kasi lawyers interact almost the whole day. You interact not only with your colleagues, but with the client. And then if you have to appear in court, you're appearing in public and talking publicly. Is that a challenge for you as an introvert?
Yes, that's a challenge for me. As I mentioned earlier, I'm an introvert, but I think I have the same principle that I applied in my life. So challenges often comes. So when faced with challenge, you just have to take it head on. So that's what I'm doing right now, facing my fears of talking with people, with engaging with people, and I think that helped me a lot.
Well, for the bar examinees right now who are on their second day of taking the exam and they have one more day to go, ano yung advice mo sa kanila since you also went through the same rigor of taking the bar exam on multiple days?
My advice for them is that just keep on pushing, because when I took the bar exams last year, I felt devastated after the first day. Actually, I didn't want to take the second day and third day of the bar.
Why?
Because I felt that I wouldn't pass the bar exams after the first day. So I didn't study after the first day of the bar was over. So I had one day of just crying my heart out. And then after that, after I cried my heart out, I decided to prepare for the next day of the bar exam. And then I just took on the bar exam again. And my advice to them is that just keep on pushing, because you'll never know. As I mentioned to the people that I'm supporting right now, to the barristers who I am friends with, you're not the examiner, so don't look back at your answers and ponder on them whether you'll pass or not.
Ako, ganyan ako doon.
Yeah.
Iniisip ko pa yung mga potentially mali ko,
Yes,
and then hindi ako nahirap ka matulog because of that, no? But bakit ka nahirapan dun sa first day? That's usually constitutional law.
Yes,
and
political
the
law
evening
and
is
commercial law.
Commercial law, okay. What is it about those exams that made you think hindi ka napapasa?
Because those are the subjects that I don't like the most in law school: commercial law, taxation law, and political law. But what's fun is that when I receive my bar grades, those are among the subjects which I have the highest grades in.
Oh, talaga?
Yeah.
Oh, ironically.
Yes.
Okay, which subject did you not perform as well?
I was confident in civil law because that's one of my favorite subjects, civil law and criminal law. But civil law is the lowest
How
grades.
low?
It's very low. So I wouldn't, I haven't expected that I would be receiving that grade from civil law.
Interesting, ah. Ako favorite ko rin civil law. Pero nagtugma siya. I got a 97 sa civil law ko. Oo. But when you finally passed the bar last year, what was your very first thought?
After I passed the bar exams, a lot of people have been calling me attorney, giving me special treatment. But I live by the principle of Simon Sinek that you deserve a styrofoam cup. So that means that the title that you have right now can give you privileges and all. But when you're stripped of that title, what's only left are your core values. So I often tell people na, don't call me attorney, I'm just the same Tristan that you've met before. Because at the end of the day, when I go to my house, I'm the one who washes the dishes, take care of my dogs, drive the car, So basically, I'm the same person. So
Oh, but siguro naman masasanay ka na ngayon, Attorney Tris, no? That you earned that title. I mean, you really worked hard over the years. Gaano ka-importante para sa iyo at sa iyong ina na dating domestic worker abroad, itong pagiging abogado mo?
yung mom ko yung very, very proud of me. And I think na I did a good job. Everything that I've worked hard for is for my mother because she sacrificed her life to provide for her family. And I promise her that I will take care of her for as long as she lives. And
Nandito mo na siya ulit sa Pilipinas?
Yes,
Saan ba
since-
siya nagpunta sa abroad para maging domestic
she
help?
worked for several countries. First, she worked in Taiwan. And then she worked in Hong Kong. And the last country that she's worked in is in Italy. So my mother is only 4'11", but she takes care of Italians who are more than 6 feet
Oh, wow.
in height. So it's a very difficult job for her, and that's why I'm very proud of my mother, and I love her very much.
Nakakatuwa naman. Attorney Tris, since you're already 41, by the time you took law, meron ka na bang pamilya?
Wala pa.
Wala pa. So ngayon, wala pa rin.
Yes.
Do you plan to settle down anytime soon?
Not yet because I have a lot of things that I want to accomplish in life first.
Marami ka na nga na-accomplish eh. So ano pa? Ano pa ba yung gusto mo ma-accomplish?
So basically, I just want to give my family a good life, and then in terms of career, I still want to pursue a CPA degree because my
So hindi pa tapos ang pag-aaral mo,
yes,
ha?
because my practice right now is on corporation law and taxation law. That's why I want to improve the things that I know. I still want to improve and keep on learning.
Yeah, but why take CPA pa? Because there are a lot of good tax lawyers that are not CPA lawyers.
Because I'm the type of person who doesn't believe in what people say automatically. So I want to learn the ins and out before I accept a certain fact. That's why I want to learn. That's why I want to become a CPA.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned earlier that you went into law because you wanted to address the injustices
Yes.
in our system. How do you plan to do that when you entered corporate, like the corporate sector? Why not become a litigation lawyer
So, right
or a
now-
human rights lawyer?
Right now, attorney, I'm in corporate, but I also do some litigation work. So from time to time, I accept cases, and I think what's difficult in the justice system in the Philippines is that you have to have money to go into litigation and all. Because if I've had a case wherein we filed a case and we had to pay 17,000 just for filing fees.
Yes,
So
especially it's based on the amount of what you're claiming as well.
yes.
No?
So for me to serve my purpose of ending injustice here in the Philippines, I have to have enough funds for me to do pro bono work for the people that I want to help.
Kaya
Yes.
binabalance mo siya,
Yes.
corporate and then doing pro bono
Yes.
work. Thank you so much, Attorney Tris. That was really an inspiring story, and good luck with your journey.
Thank you, Attorney Karen. Thank you for being an instrument of sharing my story.
Thank you. Bar examination is more than an evaluation of legal knowledge. It's a test of discipline, sacrifice, and faith. Every page reviewed, every sleepless night endured is a step towards perseverance with a purpose. Be timely informed, be insightful of the news. Always stay at the forefront. Join us again tomorrow for insights on issues that matter. This is Attorney Karen Jimeno. Thank you for spending your hour with us.